Biobotany. Biobotany consists of 10 units for 11th and 12th. First 5 units you have learned in standard 11. Let me recall the unit name for your memory. Unit 1, Diversity of Living Organism. Unit 2, Plant Morphology and Taxonomy of Angiosperm. Unit 3, Cell Biology and Biomolecules. Unit 4, Anatomy and Structural Organization. Unit 5, Plant Physiology. We have learned under these 5 units 15 chapters in 2 volumes. In standard 12 you are going to have only one volume for botany, which consists of the next 5 units, namely reproduction in plants, unit 6, unit 7, genetics, unit 8, biotechnology, unit 9, plant ecology, unit 10, economic botany. We are going to learn unit 6, reproduction in plants. Chapter 1, asexual and sexual reproduction in plants. As you know, reproduction is an essential feature of all living organisms. It is considered as vital process for the existence of species and also to bring about suitable changes through variation for survival. What is variation? The young ones which are produced by the parents vary from their parents. This happens because of sexual reproduction, and it is also important for the survival of other organisms. Plant reproduction is important for the survival of other organisms because all the other organisms get their food for their existence from the plant. It also becomes important and plays a very important role in evolution. What do you mean by evolution? Through changes or variation, new type of creatures are produced. Now we can talk about the present issue, which is the coronavirus, which have been evolved from the virus of a bat and snake. This also happened through genetic changes in variation. Basically, reproduction can be classified into asexual and sexual reproduction. What is asexual reproduction? It is a method in which the organism perpetuate their own species without the involvement of the gamete. What do you mean by perpetuate? Sustain their species on this biosphere with the involvement of the gametes. What are gametes? They are nothing but the sex cells produced by the individual. What do you mean by sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction is a method in which all living organisms reproduce with the help of the gametes, male and female gametes. So reproduction is one of the attributes of the living organism. This we have learned in unit 1 of 11th standard. So types of reproduction: asexual and sexual. Normally the lower organisms, lower plants, fungi and animals, they reproduce through the asexual reproduction. So this also we have already learned in standard 11. Examples of asexual reproduction in lower plants, fungi and animals. First one, conidia. So conidia is formed in Aspergillus and Penicillium fungi. So conidia structure we have learned already in standard 11. First unit. Budding. Second one, budding. Budding is seen in yeast. So yeast cells, you know, they are oval shaped cells. They will form a small structure like buds. At certain stage this will get cut from the parent cell and it will become a separate individual. The same thing is also found in hydra. Then fragmentation. Fragmentation in Spirogyra. Spirogyra is a filamentous algae. So when they are growing, the filamentous cells will get cut at certain points and each bit will become separate individual. Same way gemme in Marchantia, which is a bryophyte. So in the thallus of the Marchantia plant, small cup-like structure called gemme cup will be formed, which contains gemmules through which the individual will propagate. Next one is regeneration, planaria. So planaria, when the body is divided into bits, each bit will be able to grow into a separate individual. Then binary fission is in bacteria. So bacteria cells, when it matures, it can divide into two equal cells, different daughter cells. So all this we are also going to learn in zoology in detail. So the individuals which are produced by the asexual reproduction are morphologically genetically similar or identical to the parent, as well as they are identical among themselves, and these individuals, young ones which are identical, are termed as clones because their genetic constitution will be very similar to each other. Now we are going to see the vegetative reproduction in higher plants. Higher plants reproduce asexually by different methods. So one among them is vegetative reproduction. So vegetative reproduction is a form of asexual reproduction. This vegetative reproduction can be carried out naturally as well as artificially in order to increase the number of plants. So naturally, the vegetative reproduction is carried through the bud. So bud grows from the plant parts, and this bud becomes the organ, can be grown from the root, stem or leaf, get detached at some stage from the plant and becomes or develop into a new plant. So bud can be developed from these parts of the plant like root, stem and leaves. So through which the vegetative propagation or the reproduction take place. So these organs also involve, this root, stem and leaf also involved in the storage as well as perennation. So storage of the food for the plants as well as perennation. What do you mean by perennation? To keep the plant survive in life for many years. So they become the organs like seeds which contain a new young plant so that it can sustain its variety for many more years. We call it as perennation. So these buds which are considered as the reproductive structures, the reproductive structures which are used in the propagation are called as reproductive propagules or diaspore. So the reproductive structures such as buds which are used in the reproduction or propagation is called as reproductive propagules or diaspore. Some organs that helps in vegetative reproduction. First we are going to see roots. So the roots of some plants develop vegetative buds like vegetative or adventitious bud as seen in Dalbergia and Millingtonia. So in some plants they develop as tuberous root. This tuberous root not only help in the propagation but also store food for the plant. Example, Ipomea batatas and Dahlia. Ipomea batatas, they call it as Kodiballi in Tamil, and Dahlia, you know about that. Dahlia is a flower. So these root possessing these buds become detached from the parent plant and grows into independent plant under suitable conditions. Next, let us see the modifications of stem. So stem, you have learned in unit 3 of 11th standard itself certain modifications of underground and subaerial stem. So let's see few examples. Rhizome is seen in Musa paradisiaca, which is our common banana plant, and Gingiber officinae, which is otherwise called ginger, and Curcuma longa, which is turmeric. So next example is corm. So corm is seen in Amorphophallus and Colocasia. So Amorphophallus is Karunekiழங்கு and Colocasia is Senekiழங்கு or Chepankiழங்கு. Then we see tubers. So tubers, very common example is Solanum tuberosum or potato. So we have bulb next. Bulb is seen in Allium cepa. So Allium cepa is you know very well, onion, and lilium is a type of flower. And then runner Centilla asiatica is an example for it. Runner which grows on the ground. And stolen example, mentha, you know, the pudina, and fragaria are examples. Offset example, pistia and acornia, which grow in the water, they are aquatic plants. Next you have suckers, example chrysanthemum, bulbils, example dioscorea and agave. The axillary buds from the nodes of this rhizome. So the rhizome, which is underground stem, will have nodes. So nodes, stem will possess the nodes. You know what are nodes? Nodes are the points from at which the leaves arise. So in the rhizome, the scaly leaves will be present, which will not be green in color. They are scaly and colorless, brownish in color. And at the nodes of this rhizome, where they develop the axillary bud, and this axillary bud will act as the region of propagation. The vegetative reproduction in leaf. The leaf of some plants can produce adventitious buds. So adventitious buds are produced by the leaves of the plant. Example Bryophyllum, Scilla and Begonia. First we shall take Bryophyllum. Bryophyllum, the leaves are succulent. So we call this Bryophyllum as Kattipota Kuttipodum. It is a ornamental plant which we grow in our garden. So in the margin of the leaf there are notches. So it possesses notches in the margin, and these notches will give rise to the bud. And this bud will develop the roots first, and then they produce the leaf. So when the leaf become older, when they decay also, these buds will be developing new plants. So this we can see in the example Bryophyllum. The second example is Scilla. So Scilla is a bulbous plant which grow in the sandy soil. So for Scilla, the foliage leaves will be very long and narrow, and at the tip of the leaf they develop the bud. So as they grow older, due to the heaviness, the leaf may be touching the soil, and when the bud touches the soil, new plants will develop from that bud. And this kind is seen in the example Scilla. Now let us go to the advantages of natural vegetative reproduction. So what are the advantages of natural vegetative reproduction? First one, for this only one parent is enough or required for the reproduction or propagation. So we need not have two parents, only one parent is enough. The second one is the individuals which are produced out of that one parent, they are genetically identical. So when they are genetically identical, naturally their morphological structures also will be similar. Then third one, so the spread of the new individuals become rapid in some cases. One example given is Spinifex. So some plants, this enables to spread rapidly. Example Spinifex. Fourthly, horticulturists and the farmers utilize this type of propagation for the natural vegetative reproduction, for cultivation and to harvest the plant in the same type in large scale also. So this is the fourth advantage of the vegetative reproduction. And there is only one disadvantage. The disadvantage is that there is no genetic variation, because they are got from the single parent. The genes are all similar, they are identical, and so new plants produced have no genetic variation. Now let's learn the artificial methods of plant propagation. Apart from the natural methods of vegetative propagation, a number of methods have been used by agriculturists and horticulturists to propagate the plants for their parts. Such methods are said to be artificial methods. Some of these artificial methods have been used by man for a long time, and these methods are said to be conventional. And nowadays, presently, what we are doing using technology to produce more number of plant are said to be modern methods. So artificial methods of plant propagation can be done in two ways: conventional method as well as modern methods. Now let us see the conventional methods what we have been using for a long time. So conventional methods consist of cutting, grafting and layering. In that cutting the parts of the plant such as root, stem and leaves, we can produce new plants from them. So, by cutting a part of the root from the apple plant, malus is the apple plant, part of the root from the apple plant and planting it in a suitable medium for growth, the roots can develop into a new plant. Similarly, stem cutting, by cutting the stem of the plant and placing them in the suitable place or medium for growth, it can develop into a new plant. So stem cutting examples you can give: hibiscus, bougainvillea, moringa. Moringa is nothing but the common murunga maram. And leaf cutting is done as we have seen already in bryophyllum, that is Kattipota kuttipodam. Now we shall see the next method of conventional type, which is grafting. So grafting, in this we need two different plants. So two different plant parts are joined so that they will grow as one plant. Of the two plant, one plant is called a stalk and another one is called a scion. So which is called as stalk? The plant which is in contact with the soil is called as stalk, and which is called as scion. The plant which is used for grafting is called as scion. So we need two different types of plants for grafting to get a new plant, and they grow as a single plant. Now, so grafting is again can be classified into bud grafting, approach grafting, tongue grafting, crown grafting, and wedge grafting. Now let's see the different types of grafting. The first one is called bud grafting. In this, a T-shaped incision is made in the bark of the stalk and it is lifted out. The scion bud with the little wood is placed in the incision and it is tied properly along with the scion. So both the scion and the stalk sap will be mixing with each other and grown as a different new plant. The next one is called as approach grafting. In this we need the scion and the stalk rooted. The stalk must be grown in a pot and it is brought closer to the scion. So a small slice is cut from both the scion and the stalk, and they are brought near and tied together and held together by a tape. After 1 to 4 weeks, the tip of the stalk and the base of the scion will be cut and detached, and it will be separated, both will be separated. So this is what is approach grafting. The next type is called as tongue grafting. In tongue grafting, a scion and the stalk having the same thickness will be selected and both are cut obliquely, and scion is fit into the stalk and it will be bound by the tape. It will be growing as a single plant. The next one is called as the crown grafting. The crown grafting, the stalk is large in size. Can you see the large size stalk? And it will be cut, and on the cut end, wedge shaped scions are made, and it will be inserted in the slits or cleft which are on the stalk, and it is fixed in position using the graft wax. The last method of grafting is called as wedge grafting. In this method, the slit is made in the stalk and the bark is cut. A twig of the scion is inserted tightly so that the cambium of both the plant are joined together. So these are the different methods of grafting. Conventional method of plant propagation is called as layering. So in this method, the stem of the parent is allowed to develop root while still it is in contact with the parent plant. When the roots are developed, the rooted part is cut and it is planted to grow as a new plant. Example, Exnora and Jasminum. So Exnora is Idlipu we say, and Jasminum is Mallipu. So this layering is again classified into two types, namely mound layering and air layering. In mound layering, It is applied for the plant which is having flexible branches and can be drawn down to the ground. The lower branch with the leaves is bent to the ground and a part of the stem is buried in the soil and the tip of the branch is exposed above the soil. So after the roots emerge from the part of the stem is buried in the soil, a cut is made in the parent plant so that the buried part will be growing as a new plant. This is what is called as mound layering. The second type of layering is called air layering. In this method, the stem is girdled at the nodal region and the hormones are applied to this region which will promote the rooting in this region, and this portion will be covered by the moist soil. Using polythene sheet we have to cover it up. The roots will emerge in these branches after 2 to 4 months, and such branches are removed from the plant and grown in a separate pot on the ground. Now we will see the advantages of conventional methods. Firstly, the plants which are produced are genetically uniform. Second point, many plants can be produced in short time, can be produced quickly by this method. Thirdly, some plants produce little seeds, some plants produce no seeds, and some plants, seeds which are produced do not germinate. In such cases, plants can be produced in a short time by this method. Fourthly, some plants can be propagated more economically without spending more money. Example, Solanum tuberosum. Fifthly, two different plants with desirable characters such as disease resistant and high yield can be brought together in single plant by grafting. So there are also disadvantages for these conventional methods. The disadvantages are listed here. First one, if you use a virus infected plant for propagation, the young ones which are produced out of it also will be infected by the virus. Secondly, vegetative structures which are used for the propagation are bulky, so it will be difficult to carry, handle and store. So these are the two disadvantages of the conventional methods. Learn the modern methods. Professor F.C. Stewart in 1932 of Cornell University showed that the mature phloem parenchyma cells of the carrot, when he separated from the carrot and placed in the suitable medium under controlled condition, they were able to produce new cells. And these new cells were able to produce new carrot plants. And this capacity of this phloem parenchyma of carrot he called as totipotent. So totipotency is a property of the phloem parenchyma cells of the carrot. What is totipotency? This is the genetic ability of the plant cell to produce the entire plant under suitable condition. I repeat, the genetic ability of the plant cell to produce the entire plant under suitable condition is said to be totipotency. And this property of totipotency of the plant cell is being used in horticulture, forestry, agricultural industries. Next, we learn the tissue culture. So what is tissue culture? The growth of the plant tissue in special culture medium under suitable controlled condition is known as tissue culture. And this leads to the next stage, that is called micropropagation. So what is micropropagation? Producing a whole plant with a single cell. So generation of the whole plant from a single cell or a piece of plant tissue is called as micropropagation. Now let us see the advantages, because micropropagation you will be learning in unit 8 of this book. So we shall pass on to the next topic, that is advantages of the modern methods of propagation. The first one is that So using the modern methods, we are able to produce plants with desirable characters in very short time. So we can produce more number of plants with desirable character in a very short time, short duration. And we can also produce genetically identical plants. So thirdly, tissue culture can be carried out in off season also. So plants usually grow according to the season. So through tissue culture, plants can be multiplied even in off season. Then the next one is that plants do not produce viable seeds. It is very difficult to propagate. So those plants, we can use this tissue culture method and produce more number of plants. So plants which do not produce viable seeds, the seeds which are difficult to germinate also can be propagated by the tissue culture. And the next one is the rare and endangered plants. So plants which are not found everywhere. So they can be propagated using this modern methods. And disease free plants can be produced using meristem culture. So if the plant is infected and if it is having disease also, the meristem, what are meristem? The meristem cells are the new cells which are produced. So meristematic cells are newly produced cells which are devoid of this infection, and these cells can be cultured and disease free plants can be made out of the meristem culture. Finally, the cells can be genetically modified and transformed using tissue culture. So cells can be genetically modified. So whichever desirable character we need to get in the plant, we can modify the cells genetically and we can get it through the tissue culture. So these are the advantages of modern methods of propagation. There are also certain disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? It is labor intensive. So a lot of labor is needed, required, and the people who are skilled alone can do this. So require a lot of skilled workers for preparing new plants. Sterile condition must be maintained. To maintain the sterile condition, we need to spend a lot of money. It is a costlier process. So since the clones are genetically identical, so the entire crop are susceptible to the disease or the change of season. So all the plants will be totally destroyed if they are susceptible to any new disease because they are genetically identical. And finally, the callus which undergoes genetical changes, sometimes it gives undesirable character, so which will not be suitable for commercial use. This also happens in the case of modern methods or tissue culture method. So these are the disadvantages of the modern methods of propagation.